Hello, sweet friends, and welcome to episode 47 of the Mindful Knitter podcast. My name is Claire, and I am your host. If you are new, welcome. This is a podcast that's kind of like a traditional vlogcast style, primarily about knitting and yarn and crochet and yarn dyeing and spinning. And I talk about my projects I'm working on, things that I have coming up, and we've got a little bit of yarn-related chat, and then just like fun community kind of chat at the end. So if that sounds like something that you're into, I hope that you enjoy today's episode. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. I'm so happy you come to hang out with me week after week. If you want to connect with social media, I am on Instagram as the.mindfulknitter and on Ravelry as Mindful Knitter Pod. I am more active on Instagram than I am on Ravelry, but you're welcome to connect with me on both platforms. And if you'd like to send me an email, you can do that at clairethemindfulknitter@gmail.com. All of this information and any information that we cover as far as yarn, patterns, designers, etc., all of that is in the information down below the video, or rather the description down below the video. So if you click on that little like more button thing after the title of the video, it'll give you a drop down of the description of the video. So I've got all that information down there. I feel like that's pretty much all of the introduction information to give you guys for today. I am coming to you from the southeast of the United States, where it is very warm. So I'm not wearing anything handmade today. I did think about wearing a tank top that I had knit, but it didn't happen because most of my knit and crocheted items are wool, and it's just a little warm today for that. So I'm just wearing normal people clothes today. I have a couple of a couple of projects to share with you all today. I have a crocheted project and a knitting project, and then I have a finished object. It's actually some of my handspun yarn. And then we've got a little bit of chat as well. So it might be a shorter episode today. I guess I'll show you guys my finished object, my yarn first, and because usually my format is I do finished objects, then works in progress, and then any kind of upcoming projects that I have plans to cast on or start in the near future. So this is my finished object. It's the only thing I have to share that's finished with you today. It's some handspun yarn, so I'm very excited about this. It's that pastel neon that I was telling you guys about last episode. It's incredibly fluffy and soft. This is 100% superwash merino, and I did a 2-ply. I'm not sure of the yardage because I haven't measured the yardage yet, but this is probably, like, it fluffed up a lot when I washed and finished it, so it's about a worsted weight. Which is good. I kind of like my handspun to be about a worsted weight. Sometimes DK is okay, but I don't know. I just kind of like it like that. So it's very fluffy, as you can see. The way I kind of spin is more of like, I'd say like a woolen style spin. Like I keep it very fluffy, very like airy and light. So I'm excited about this. It's so pretty. And I have another braid. This was 4 ounces. So I do have another braid of this that I'm going to spin up. And so I'll have 2 matching 4-ounce skeins of this gorgeous, like, look at the barber pulling on this. It's so pretty. And so 8 ounces of this could definitely go into a sweater for me because I do kind of cropped sweaters. I love a cropped sweater. I would probably need more than 2 skeins to do a whole sweater for myself. Typically I need like 12 ounces of handspun for a sweater for myself, but we'll see. This might get paired with something else. My handspun stash is starting to grow, so I'm sure I'll find something to pair it with that'll be gorgeous. So I'll keep you guys in the loop on that, and I'll probably spin up that second braid pretty soon so that I spin them up the same. If you're not really into hand spinning, sometimes it can be a little difficult to spin yarn like exactly the same so that it matches, because like depending on the day and whatever, like you might draft more quickly, you might like be pedaling more quickly, like there's so many different factors. But if I tend to do them like pretty like back to back, I can get it pretty consistent. So and I remember what I did with this one, so I'll do it soon while I still remember how I spun this, and while I'm still like pretty much in the same sort of like frame, and I have some of that like just body memory of how I did it, if that makes any sense. Yeah, and I do spin, in case you're wondering, I spin on my Ashford Kiwi 3. It is a castle style spinning wheel, and that's how I do all of my spinning. And I did do a 2-ply with this. Usually I do a chain ply, but I wanted to do a 2-ply with this one just because I kind of wanted to see how the barber poling would happen. And if you don't know, the barber poling is like when it's like, you know, like outside of like a traditional like barber shop, they have like those poles that look kind of like candy cane stripes. That's what barber poling is. So you can kind of see here like how it has those little like candy cane stripes. That's the barber poling. So I wanted to kind of get that effect with this yarn. So I'm happy that I got that. I think it's really, really pretty. I don't know if that will be a sweater, if that will be like the fluffiest shawl. It could be a fluffy, beautiful, whimsical shawl with the neon pastels. Oh, I love it. So that's my finished object to share with you guys today. I have 2 works in progress. And I might, let's see. Okay, so my first work in progress is the crocheted project that I shared with you guys last time. I did end up frogging it, so I ripped it all out. I hope that you're proud of me. I'm proud of myself because I don't like ripping back at all, but I was having a gauge issue and I didn't want like the first few inches of my crop top to not fit and be really tight, and then the rest of my crop top fit just fine. That just wasn't going to work. It probably wasn't going to be comfortable to wear. Probably wasn't going to fit right. So now we have the correct size. Yeah, so what I ended up doing was I sized up my crochet hook. I am using this is a 7. I think that is a 4.5 millimeter. Let me check the size up. Yeah, so a 5 millimeter was what I was thinking about using. This pattern calls for let me show you the pattern. This pattern calls for a 4 millimeter crochet hook, but I just apparently crochet my single crochets super tight. So I went to a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook. That seems to have fixed that problem. This fabric is much more flexible. It looks the way that her pictures look in her pattern as far as like the spacing between the stitches. It was very like dense and compacted before. And it seems more correct. Like in her pictures, her crop top does not look like stiff and constricted. It looks like it just fits a little more relaxed. It is a fitted pattern, so it's not like boxy or loose. So it is fitted to the body, but it's not like rigid and tight fabric. So I think that I have achieved that now. The pattern is the Mary Kate crop top by Courtney A. Clark, also called Tinderbox designs, and this is what it looks like. Very cute. Kind of just like a classic sort of like high neck crop. Yeah, I really like this a lot. So I'm not doing the stripes, as you can tell. I'm doing just one kind of color. I am actually using 2 different skeins, 2 different colorways, but they go together very well, so they blend nicely. You can tell, I think, that I have used 2 different types of yarn or 2 different colorways. But it's a subtle enough change, and I've got them to fade into each other enough that I don't think it's super obvious. But I think that this is going to work much better. It is supposed to be fitted. Also, this has not been blocked or anything, so like it's going to just fit way tighter right now than it normally would. But I think that this, I have much more hope for this than I did with the original one. Like the original one, like I could get on my body, but it was snug. This one I think is going to be snug, but it's going to be snug the way that it is intended to be snug, not like an it's too small kind of snug. So I think I have addressed that. My issue now that I'm having, and maybe you guys can help me with this, but my issue now that I'm having, and actually, Rhonda, if you are watching this, I might have a conversation with you if you are up for it, because you are a crochet queen. I do feel like there's a part of the directions or the instructions that I'm just not really fully grasping. I'm now on the decreases for like this upper part of the top, like here where like it decreases up here. And I just don't, I'm not convinced that I'm doing it correctly, because you're supposed to like crochet two together, but I don't know exactly like if I'm supposed to be doing that. I don't know. I don't want to like do that incorrectly. I do know how to crochet two together, but I've had a little bit of confusion while making this as to like your first chain one? Yeah, like chain one does not count as a stitch in this pattern. But then I get kind of confused, because if I like crochet into that stitch that my chain one is coming out of, it looks like I'm adding stitches to the pattern, which I don't want to do, because when I was doing that, when crocheting in the round, it was growing every time. So I stopped doing that and I just crocheted into the next stitch. But then I was like, well, then doesn't that mean that that chain is counting as a stitch? I don't know. So now I'm into the decreases, and I don't want to decrease too rapidly by continuing to crochet two together, not using that first stitch, but instead using the second stitch. But then I don't want to decrease not rapidly enough by doing it in the first one where that chain one is. I don't know if that's making any sense to you guys. But I also don't want to like give away the pattern necessarily, but I don't think that gives away the whole pattern. There's no way that you're going to be able to make this with only that limited amount of information. But yeah, like I don't know, because you see like right here, like you have, like I've started my little decreases on the front side, and then I'll, I think I work the front and then the back, or vice versa. Yeah, so I don't know. Rhonda, can you help me? Can anyone else help me? I want to make sure I'm doing it correctly, and I thought that I would ask before I continued, rather than try it, see what happened, and then have to rip a whole bunch of stuff out again, because I just don't want to do that again. It was not fun, and I feel like I just don't want to have to do it again. I just want to make the thing and then the thing be made. I really don't like having to redo my work. I've always been one of those people who, like, when I was writing papers in school or whatever, like I didn't really go back and edit. Like I just kind of edited as I was writing, so that by the time I was finished writing whatever it was, I just kind of read through it once to make sure that like, okay, yeah, that's fine. And then that was it. Like I never went back and I edited things. That's one of the reasons why my dissertation for my doctorate took such a, like, I think an emotional toll on me. You cannot write a dissertation without editing, and a lot of editing, because your dissertation chair constantly has things that they want you to change and then change back, because then they change their mind and they were like, no, actually, I do think it needs to be this way. You were right the first time or the third time or whatever it was. So that drove me nuts. I like to just do things correctly the first time and be done, or do things well enough the first time and be done. I don't like to go back. So all you crocheters, what are your thoughts? about this because I don't know what I'm doing. I've crocheted several garments at this point, but this one, I don't know why. This one's being a little bit of a problem child. But I think it'll be worth it. I think it'll be a very cute cropped tank top. And I've got plenty of yarn. So I'm definitely not playing any yarn chicken with this, which is great. I have had some issues with my Swift. I have an umbrella Swift, so I cake all my own yarn. And I need a new Swift. If you have any wonderful umbrella Swift recommendations, preferably wood, I'd be very happy to hear those. I'm leaning towards just getting the Knit Picks one because Knit Picks has a pretty good pricing structure based on the quality that they provide. So I don't want to spend like a ridiculous amount of money on a fancy Swift. I just need one that's going to work. And the one that I have is currently not working because it's not working. I have the thing like clipped together at this point because it like falls apart as I'm trying to wind my yarn, and it's causing a problem in my cakes because now like the yarn barf situation is getting completely out of control. I'm having to like rewind my skeins of yarn or my cakes of yarn like by hand as I'm like working with them. It's getting really very ridiculous. So I need a new Swift. That's probably gonna happen like in the next, I should just order it. I keep hoping like Knit Picks is gonna have a sale and then I can buy it then, but I should probably just do it because I need to cake up yarn. I should just do it. I don't like paying full price for things, so I keep waiting for a sale. But if you've got any other recommendations for me, or if you have any feedback on the Knit Picks wooden Swift, yeah, I'd love to hear it because I am going to be making that purchase pretty soon. Is there anything else to say about that? The crop top is knit in fingering weight yarn, and I am making the third size, the medium. Is there anything else to mention? I think that's pretty much it. The yarn that I'm using is Nanette Wake Studio. She has a shop on Etsy, but it's a discontinued colorway. So I don't know the name of the colorway, but it's not available anyway. But she does do a beautiful, beautiful job, as you can tell. I'll show you the yarn up close again so you can see. Yeah, it's really beautiful. And again, you can see where I switched to a different yarn up here. I might end up, if this crop top is not long enough, I might end up, although I think it probably will be long enough after it's blocked, but if it's not, then I will probably add some of like this yarn down here as well to give some more length, and it'll kind of like tie those colors all together, I think so. And I think I also have some more of this yarn, so I'm fine with it not matching perfectly. I think it's close enough. I used to be a perfectionist, but I am a recovered perfectionist. I think that's all there is to say about that guy. So my next work in progress, I just started this week in the last few days, and I'm very excited about it. I haven't knit any lace in a while, so this has been just super fun, although I did mess up. That's fine. I'm keeping it the way that it is because, again, I'm a recovered perfectionist. So this is the Nostalgia Top by Auguste Knit or Auguste Knit. It's gorgeous. I love it in this neutral and with these buttons. Look how sweet those buttons are. Yeah, so cute. This is another fairly fitted cropped tank top. And it's just absolutely precious in this neutral with these buttons. And I love this little lace detail. She knit hers in worsted weight on US 6 needles, 4 millimeters. I'm not doing that because I have to be different. I'm just using what I have, you guys. And I've got so much yarn, but I didn't want to do a worsted weight. I wanted to use my Noro Kakigori yarn because it's cotton, silk, viscose, and polyamide. It's 200 grams, it's 600 meters. It's like so good for this project, I think. That's about a sport weight yarn, and I think a sport weight on a US 6 needle makes a great fabric for summer in particular. And with the cotton and the silk, I just think that this is going to be a very like lightweight, breezy, easy to wear kind of tank top. And I've got this lace knitted up where you can see. I'm not quite done with the lace yet, but almost. And I have messed up the lace. But you know what? I don't really care. I'm just going to roll with it. The next time I knit this, I am going to be a little bit more intentional and careful, because I do think I'm going to knit this pattern more than once. It's so nice. I will be more intentional and careful, but like with this go around, I don't really care. Like with this yarn, I think like the color variation and everything kind of like hides it a little bit. Because I mean, you get the gist, even if it's not perfect. And I think it still looks very nice. Yeah, so I did mess up because I was supposed to, as you can see, it has this little like built-in placket in the pattern that goes into the lace. Here you can see like this little like button placket. It goes into the lace. I didn't do that because I was kind of sick this weekend and very, very sleep deprived, very dehydrated, just kind of struggling, which was not the best time to start a new project, especially that started with lace, but I did it anyway. So I was just not reading the directions carefully enough, and I did not, you know, go part way around, stop the lace, do the little placket section, pick the lace back up. No, I just knit the lace all the way around. And then when I got to like the end of the round, I was like, why do I have extra stitches? And then I was like, whatever, I'll just keep them. Could someone explain what is up with me? Yeah, like I was just like, whatever, I'll just keep them. So I did. And then as I was like repeating the lace section, it like struck me, I like realized like, oh, I was supposed to repeat this little like lace chart X number of times, do that little like placket thing, and then repeat the lace chart X number of times. I didn't do that. Oh well. So I'm just gonna keep it like this. And then I think that when I get to like the body of it, that's mostly stockinette, I think I'm going to probably do that little like placket there. I'm not gonna have buttons, so I think that makes it matter less. So I'm not gonna have like buttons going like all the way down. I think if I was planning to do buttons, then I would probably rip this out and redo it so that the buttons could go all the way down, because I do think that looks nice. But since I'm not doing buttons, that little placket is just adding a little textural interest to the otherwise plain stockinette body. So I don't really feel like it's necessary. I think it'll still look nice. And I love this yarn. Let me tell you which color this is in case you're curious. Though, again, it's in the description down below the video. This is color 23. The Kakigori color 23. Anything else to mention on this? I'm really enjoying using this yarn. It's a single ply, which is fun. And I think single plies work really great for lace. It shows like the stitches very nicely. I just think this is going to be so lovely when it's done, and I'm going to want to wear it all the time. Yeah, honestly, I never even like checked my stitch. I haven't checked my stitch count since I cast on, so I don't even know if I'm knitting the correct number of stitches for this thing for my size. What am I doing? I'm just living life on the edge, you guys. I'm being like very like laissez-faire about my crafting lately. I don't know what's happening. But this is happening. And I'm really enjoying it, and I think that it's gonna be like beautiful. I think it's gonna be beautiful when it's done. The needles that I'm using, these are not my usual needles. Usually I knit with Haya Sharps, but I'm knitting with the Prim ergonomic needles. I don't know if you can see that really, but yeah, I'm using the US 6 like the pattern says, and it's been great. I've been enjoying using the Prim needles. Sometimes it is kind of fun to just switch up your tools. I love my Haya Sharps, but yeah, sometimes switching up the tools a little bit is nice. And I'm using my little project bag from Artemis Yarns, my little Hedge Witch bag. It's just so cute. I love the moth. And it's the perfect size for this project. So this has been handy. I think that's all I need to say about that. I know last episode, I am still kind of recovering from being sick this weekend. So if I'm kind of like a little subdued, that's why. I said last episode that I might size up my needles since I was going to be knitting with a sport weight yarn rather than the recommended worsted weight yarn. But I did decide to just go ahead and do the size 6 needles like it says in the pattern. And just hope for the best. I think it's going to be fine. That is a cotton and silk yarn, so it is going to grow after it's blocked, and it's going to grow as each time it's washed. So I don't think that the garment's going to be too small. I do need to check my stitch count to make sure I do have enough stitches for the size that I'm making. I am making the size 3, but I think it should be okay. It's looking fine. The fabric's looking okay. Everything is, you know, just as I'm looking at it and I'm making it, I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, this looks like it'll fit just fine. And I've made enough garments for myself at this point. I have made so many garments for myself. I can kind of like just look at it and be able to tell by now. So I think it'll be fine. Let's hope that this isn't like the one time where I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, it'll be fine. And then it's like so small because I should have sized up my needles or something. Yeah, typically like if you're curious about the reasoning behind the needle sizes, typically if you're using a smaller yarn, you will use a smaller needle. But sometimes with like garments, because the diameter of the yarn itself does add some, I don't know, it affects the size of the fabric because, how do you say it? Like if you take like well, that doesn't make sense with bricks because they're solid objects and yarn is squishy. If you take like 2 pillows of a certain size, like a small size, and you like put them together like in a box, like you're going to be able to fit a different number. This is a better example. So like you're going to be able to fit a larger number of small pillows into a box than you would larger pillows. Even though they're squishy and you can squish them down, just because of the amount of space that those pillows just take up because of the matter that they contain. So kind of the same thing with the yarn. A bigger diameter yarn is just going to take up more space than a smaller diameter yarn. So sometimes when you're using a smaller weight yarn, like a fingering weight or sport weight versus like a worsted weight yarn for a garment, and you're like subbing those out in the pattern, sometimes people will size up their needle to kind of compensate for the fact that their yarn diameter is not going to be taking up the same amount of space. So it might make the garment smaller overall. So they'll size up their needles so they get a little bit more space between the stitches so that it kind of compensates. I don't know if that makes sense the way I'm describing that. I decided not to do that. I decided to just use the US 6 needles and I guess risk it for the biscuit. And we'll see if that works out for me or if I'm going to be regretful of that decision. I'll keep knitting it. I'll probably knit a few inches, like maybe 2 inches of like the body. in stockinette, and then I'll put some barber cords on my needles so that I can try on the garment and see if it's actually like fitting okay. And if it's fitting fine, then I'll just continue. If it's fitting like really weirdly small, then I might have to rip it all out and start again with the larger needle size. But honestly, like, this has been really fun to make, so I don't think I would hate ripping it out and redoing that lace again, because I really like knitting lace. So, and this yarn is pretty fun, so I don't think I would mind too much. That's what's happening on the projects front. That was a long explanation. I guess now I'll get into some knitty chat. I don't have any planned upcoming projects. I have a lot of things that I would love to make. I have so much beautiful yarn. So much beautiful yarn. And I just got some more yarn. I'll talk about that in a moment, but I don't have any particular upcoming projects planned. I do kind of think I'd like to make the pink agave shawl by Casapinka, but I'm not sure yet if I'm going to. It's very possible that I will, though. And then there's some patterns from Stephen West I think I would like to do. Then there's some garments that are striking me. I think it's because it's August and I can sense that fall is coming, and so like my yarny instincts are starting to like kick in because it knows that cold weather is going to be coming soon. So I'm starting to want to make all the things. But a couple of things to share with you guys. One, I did get some new yarn. I'm going to be sharing that with you in an upcoming video. I was in Chicago last week. I was visiting my best friend in Wisconsin, and we hopped over to Chicago for a bit. And I went to the Bloom and Spindle yarn shop. That is such a cute yarn shop. Holy smokes. It's so cute. And the owner was just so kind, and she was really, really sweet. And they have a beautiful selection of yarns there. And everyone who works there was so helpful. I went in time for their yarn crawl as well, the Chicago yarn crawl. So that was fortuitous. So I'm going to be posting a video for you guys of that yarn shop, the Bloom and Spindle in Chicago. And I'll share with you too my yarn haul from that little trip. Oh, and I guess too, I should share with you at some point my yarn haul from visiting the Sow's Ear in Verona, Wisconsin, because I also went there. Maybe I can do that next podcast episode, but I'll have a separate video for the Bloom and Spindle. So I'll do like a yarn shop tour for you guys. So that was exciting, and do I want to use some of that yarn soon? I don't know. It's beautiful. So that's an update. That was really fun. And then another update, I am considering, but I'm probably going to say yes to this. I was recently asked to be a vendor at a music festival in October. And they want me to do like yarny vending. So that would be my hand spun yarn, my hand dyed yarn, crocheted items, knit items. And I think I might say yes, because I think that would be fun to do. It's in October, so I think I have enough time to prep for it. The booth fee was not ridiculous. I think it was actually pretty, like, I don't know, generously priced. They probably could have charged more for the booth fee, but I mean, I'm not going to complain. I'll look at the information maybe one more time, but I think I would like to do that. I think it'd be a lot of fun. And I really enjoyed doing the market that I did during the holidays last winter, or this past winter. So I think doing an October music festival would be really fun. And I think like good motivation to crochet a whole bunch of stuff. I like crocheting those like quick projects. So I think I might do that. I think it'll be a lot of fun. And then were there any other things to mention that were yarn related? I think that might have been it. I'll definitely let you guys know if I do decide to do that festival, and if you'd like for me to do a video on it, then I'd be happy to do that for you. I'll probably do mostly crocheted items because they're quicker, and also I mean, you can't buy ethically made crocheted items at the store. You can only buy them from directly from the makers, typically, because crochet cannot be made by machine. It can only be made by hand. So if you want to buy crocheted items, you make it yourself, or you buy it directly from the person that made it. Otherwise, it was probably not ethically made. So I would like to contribute to the ethical production of crocheted items, especially as crocheted items are becoming more popular right now. And if there's anything I can do to help with like the awareness around that, then I would love to. So just I guess final thing to just sort of chat about would be, and I can tell like I'm very subdued, and I'm getting like more subdued as time goes on, because I guess I'm not fully recovered from being sick this weekend, and I didn't really realize it till I sat down to film. So I do apologize if I am a little out of it. So just like an update on like books and things and what I'm watching. I've been watching Game of Thrones this summer, which is different for me. I don't typically watch things that are highly, not just highly violent, but like when people are being really awful to each other. I don't usually do super well with that. It really bothers me, whether it's in movies or shows or books. Like the violence is not my favorite either, but the thing that really gets me is when people are being really just terrible to each other. So lots of betrayal, or if people are being really cruel. Yeah, that really affects my emotional health, sometimes for days afterwards. So there's a lot of that going on in Game of Thrones. It's very surprising to me that I'm able to watch Game of Thrones. And I think the trick is, because I haven't been able to watch it like ever, and I tried a few times, and it would just like, I would decline for like a couple of days, because I can't handle people being awful to each other. So, and that's most of what Game of Thrones is. But I think what has helped me is I am better able now to separate like fantasy and reality, I guess. So I'm able to recognize that these are actors like creating a story, and I'm able to kind of like watch the scenes, and I'm able to kind of like imagine like what are the actors like thinking and feeling as they're filming this scene, and I'm able to see them as like people creating art and creating story, versus becoming so immersed in the story itself that it feels real to me. I don't know if that makes sense, but I have a very, very active, vivid imagination. So it's very easy for me to get pulled into a story and for it to feel very real to me. So I think that my newfound ability to be able to separate that out and be able to actually really truly recognize and feel and understand these are actors and they're having fun creating a story for us. That's helping me. So like whenever I see like the betrayal or the people being awful to each other part, it's not hitting the same, because it doesn't feel like people are actually being awful to each other. I'm able to recognize like this is a story. You know, as I say it and I explain it out loud, like it sounds very obvious, of course, as actors, but I think it's just because my imagination is so very overactive. It struggles sometimes distinguishing. So yeah, that's very helpful. And if there ever is like a time where like an episode that's particularly sad, or there's a lot of violence or a lot of cruelty or something, I just won't watch it for a couple of days. And that's been good. So I've been watching Game of Thrones, and I'm in season 2 now. Are any of you guys Game of Thrones fans? This is the first time I've actually been able to watch it, because I've never been able to emotionally handle it before. And then as far as reading, I am reading the second book in the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. It's okay so far, but it hasn't pulled me in. It is, I think, Crown of Midnight is the second book, and it's okay. I really liked A Court of Thorns and Roses, so I really want to like this series, but it's just still not like grabbing me, but it's okay. And then am I reading anything else right now? I kind of want to start reading a little bit more edifying things now that I have had a couple months off from school because I graduated, so hooray. And now I'm just working instead of working and doing grad school at the same time. I feel like I have the capacity again to like read something more like edifying. So I might look into, although I'm doing continuing education stuff for like my license right now for work, so I am learning things too. So maybe I don't need to do anything super edifying until after I'm done with all my continuing education credits, because I do have many hours that I need to get completed in the next month or two. So I don't know, maybe I need to slow my roll a little bit. But if you guys have any like beautiful books that you think like are edifying and contribute to like growth, or yeah, being a better person, or I don't know, that you just found very meaningful or very interesting even, I'd love to hear about it, because there's so many, you know, millions to choose from. It's kind of hard to narrow it down sometimes. I think that's pretty much it. I sort of rambled a little bit. I'm going whitewater rafting this weekend though, so that's exciting. And then I'm going to see one of my nieces for her 6th birthday party this weekend. So that's also going to be good. So yeah, I've got some exciting things happening. I think I'll just end it here. Kind of like ungracefully. Thank you guys so much for joining me though. Hopefully it wasn't too rambly or odd. And I'll look forward to seeing you guys next time. I hopefully will have a couple finished objects to share with you. At least one of those crop tops should be done, hopefully both of them. And maybe I'll have a second skein of handspun yarn to show you too, if we're lucky. But I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.